Tonight, a surprising shift in America's foreign policy as Donald Trump removes all sanctions on Syria and extends an olive branch to Iran. And in a speech during his first official trip this term, he delivered an interesting line about America's enemies.
I have never believed in having permanent enemies. I am different than a lot of people think. I don't like permanent enemies, but sometimes you need enemies to do the job, and you have to do it right. Enemies get you motivated. In fact, some of the closest friends of the United States of America are nations we fought wars against in generations past, and now they're our friends and our allies.
But with Trump's new philosophy, and those olive branches have been ridiculed by conservatives not long ago, well, remember, this is how they responded to Barack Obama's attempts to normalize relations with America's foes.
The president began what I've called an apology tour of going to various nations in the Middle East and criticizing America. I think they looked at that and saw weakness.
We've seen a pattern now where our friends and allies, they no longer trust us, and our enemies, they no longer fear us. First it was Russia, then it's Iran, then it's Cuba. And if the deal goes through, it will make the Obama administration quite literally the world's leading financier of radical Islamic terrorism.
Today we face ever-growing threats. Radical Islamic terror, a lunatic in North Korea, a gangster in Moscow, and a president more respectful to the Ayatollah of Iran than the Prime Minister of Israel.
This is one of those moments where, I mean, I don't know. I think that you can look at it two ways. One, you can look at it as Donald Trump perhaps just not having any sort of hard lines on anything and being here, there, and everywhere, or Trump doing something that a lot of Democrats might have praised him for, trying to do deals with our adversaries.
Bismarck, Kissinger both said the same thing. Some of the greatest politicians in history. There are no permanent enemies, only permanent interests. And talk about Japan. Think about the Second World War. Not that far ago. Look at them today. One of the closest allies America has. There are no permanent enemies. And I think what Trump is saying, listen, if we want stability, let's talk about our interests. And I am very concerned about the Middle East, having just come back from the UAE, and I am blown away by the advancement they have that we don't have now in AI. It's amazing what they have. And the reason all these AI guys, Zuckerberg and everybody that's in tech is on that trip, 2 days from now, they're going to be in Abu Dhabi. And I think Trump wants to make sure this administration ties the loop on AI development with the UAE, not China.
So
that's what matters.
Just take what he just said about no permanent enemies, the idea that the United States shouldn't want the chessboard to be frozen in place. I mean, respond to that. I mean, do you think that that's something that you can get behind?
Yeah, look, I think it's important to always be playing look at the near term and the long game when it comes to policy in general, certainly when it comes to the world stage, because our interests change let's take Syria as an example. There was a revolution. The Assad regime is gone. There was some questions about how this new leader would do. I'm hoping that the Trump administration made some assessment that suggested this is the right thing to do in order to help perhaps get Syria on a better path. And that could be a good thing. So I certainly think our alignments change. But again, I think what you'll hear is more likely this is a negotiating tactic, or this is, it's hard for me to hear Donald Trump say, no permanent enemies when he's big into retribution on the other.
Let me play one more thing. This is
front.
Trump talking about the nation builders and the interventionists from times past. Listen to this.
In the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far more nations than they built, and the interventionists were intervening in complex societies that they did not even understand themselves. They told you how to do it, but they had no idea how to do it themselves.
Well, I mean, I feel like if I took myself back to 2008, a whole lot of Democrats would have been saying that. People like Scott, who believe that Western civilization is the only civilization that matters, might not even agree with what Trump is saying.
The weird part about this is that, like, I do believe that the new regime in Syria deserves a fair chance. I think Chris Murphy said it earlier, that lifting sanctions on Syria is actually the right thing to do. The person who might disagree with you is actually Tulsi Gabbard, who had this really weird affinity with Bashar al-Assad, but that's a whole nother segment that we can talk about. The fact is, I am more enamored with the hypocrisy. I am more enamored with the fact that you can't recognize what this Republican Party is. And there is no such thing as a Reagan conservative anymore. There's no such thing as a George Bush conservative anymore. This is Donald Trump's party. He is putting his imprint on this party. And what that means is, it means tariffs, it means price controls, it means kleptocracy, it means things like, this is what we're seeing, foreign policy for trade. And so this is the new Republican Party. Democrats have to learn how to deal with this. But the Republican Party that was founded in conservative values no longer exists.
Yeah, I guess putting the politics and the rhetoric aside, just from a straight up policy perspective, it just doesn't sound like you actually disagree with what Trump is doing on some of this stuff. Well, on Syria, but also philosophically about this idea of the failure of the nation building.
Let me explain to you where I do disagree with Donald Trump. There is no way that I'm giving Qatar a deal because they give me a plane. There's no way that I'm forgiving Saudi Arabia for the sins, or Qatar for the sins of 9/11 because they buy my meme coin. There is no way that I'm doing that. And so I do agree with the very narrow perspective, and I think all of us should agree, because it's good foreign policy, that we need to allow the Syrian government to have trade, to have reign, to attempt to flourish with a new leader. Bashar al-Assad needed to go 10 years ago, and that's Barack Obama's fault. That's Donald Trump one's fault.
All right, I gotta let Scott and then Van in before we go.
I do think what is remarkable is that, you've alluded to it. He has remade the Republican Party's orthodoxy on several issues. It's no small thing, and I think whether it's on trade, whether it's on this issues of war and peace, it's not just the policy, it's also the language. The party, to your point, had been a hawkish party. We spoke hawkishly. We acted hawkishly at times. Trump speaks of peace before he speaks of war. Not that he's averse to lighting up our enemies when it matters, ask the Houthi rebels. But he has reset the language of the Republican Party in a way that, you're right, it's not the same language of Bush, it's not the same language of Reagan. And I do think he cares what's in the best interest of the United States. I think the political reset that occurred is that all the intervention, all the war and the intervention that happened around the world, a lot of American people, Republican and Democrat, came to the conclusion that it wasn't worth it, and is there a better way, and do we have to be hemmed in by old ideologies?
If you're in Gaza, I don't think that you think Trump is a very peaceful president, as he talks about displacing you and cleansing you out of your place and sending you somewhere else. So just guess it depends on where you are. From my ears, when I hear him say what's best for America, I can't help but translate that to what's best for him. No one wants the proliferation, I can never get that word right, of nuclear weapons. Yeah. No one wants any of that stuff. But it just always seems like it's more about what fattens down Trump's pockets than it is about what makes America safe and secure.
All right, got to leave it there. Coming up next, Pete Rose and shoeless Joe Jackson are among those being reinstated by baseball. So we'll discuss who else deserves a second chance in society.